Maggie Knapp. I'm the Director of Training for the Rochester region in New York State. And today we're going to talk about Engage CRM, and we are talking about trigger campaigns. So first thing we got to do is get into Engage, and we're going to go to the Agent Tools, click on Engage CRM. And my manager dashboard will come on, so I'm going to switch over to the agent dashboard so it looks like your dashboard. Hang on a second. And by the way, we're expecting a severe thunderstorm, so Jen, Anita, hang in. You may be asked to, if my internet goes down, you guys will be lead in charge, because I live on top of a hill near a lake, and it's windy and there's trees. So
it's funny. In the middle of the night, my smoke alarms went off.
Oh, no fun.
That was exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to go through tonight and replace every 9-volt battery in all of the 11 smoke alarms in the house, and we don't have a big house.
In New York State, you should have lithium batteries as of April 2019. Just saying, 10-year batteries. All right, so we're in Engage. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to do campaigns, trigger campaigns. Good morning. So the campaigns that we are talking about are trigger campaigns. So there's two types of campaigns in Engage. And those campaigns are, there's a scheduled campaign and there's a trigger campaign. So a scheduled campaign would be something like seasonal home maintenance, where that goes out on a specific schedule. And if you go into that campaign, you can look at, I'm just going to click on it so I can show you. It's important to know the differences here. So this one is going to go out on 9/22, 12/21, 3/20, and 6/20. And as the seasons change, the next, so the next one would come up in 9 of 2021. So when this one is fully expired, they'll have a new one to replace it. And this is just going to keep going and going and going and going. So that is a scheduled campaign. So what we're going to talk about today is trigger campaigns. So what's a trigger campaign and who is that relevant to? So if I go to my library and I click on the blue bar, I'm going to have two different kinds of campaigns. So I have my holiday campaign. That's a scheduled campaign for every holiday in the year. Or for most of them, like Labor Day, Easter, 4th of July, there's a scheduled campaign that will go out. So the triggered campaigns are going to be buyer-seller campaigns, lead campaigns. So all of these buyer warm prospects, new lead, seller warm prospects, recently closed, these are all triggered by a transaction, by something in a transaction. So let me go back to People My People. And for the sake of your understanding, I added myself as Maggie Warm Lead. And you can use the little search tool to search for somebody if you know their name. So where's Maggie Warm Lead? There I am. So I want to deal with Maggie Warm Lead. So obviously her name, might have my Maggie Knapp, right? It wouldn't say Warm Lead. That's just a name I got it so I could find it while I was testing it out to show you. So the first thing I want to do is maybe that name came in through an open house or through lead tracks or any number of lead sources that we have. And I don't really know them. Maybe we've had a conversation. So maybe I haven't gone as far as making them a client. They're not a seller prospect yet or a buyer prospect, but I'm going to create a marketing plan. And I'm going to say none of these. They haven't bought or sold with me before. And I'm going to create a plan. But if once I make Maggie Warm Lead a prospect, now it's triggered. So let's say I'm going to make her a buyer prospect, and say done. Now my trigger campaign for buyers, who's not? Can you mute Deb Donahue for me, please? Thank you. Once I have her as a lead in campaigns, if I had a new lead or a buyer first steps campaign, then she would automatically go into it, assuming I have her name and an email, because I got to have an email for there to be a trigger to that campaign. So they will have been added once I have it set up. So let's go look at our trigger campaigns. So I'm going back to the library using the blue button on the right side. And so the beauty of this in Engage is if you set up all of these campaigns ahead of time, as soon as you put people into your system or people move into your system, they will automatically start to receive these emails. And so you look like, and you have become that realtor that is immediately reaching out to someone in a warm way. Yes, Tom?
Yeah, quick question, Maggie. Just and you may be getting ready to go over this, but where can we see what triggers each campaign?
I'm going to show you the campaign right now.
Okay.
And so I'll show you those campaigns, and that'll show you how they get triggered.
Okay, so it's within each campaign we can see it.
Yep. So the new lead, let's preview that. So these are the 4 that we have, or the 5 we have right now. So let's start with the first one, actually. Let's do buyer warm prospects, and we'll do a preview. So if I made Maggie Warm Lead a buyer, which I just did, these are all the campaigns that are going to get triggered. There's a warm prospect introduction. There's a home buyers tips, start your search, understanding the market, the buying process, what to expect, and on and on and on. So there's, I don't know how many in here. And so there's 11, 1 of 11. So I can look at each one by using this arrow and clicking through. So I can see each and every, these are emails that are going to go out to the prospects. And it makes me look pretty good because I'm giving them relevant information that has already been written for us. Can you edit it? Some things you can, some things you can't. So if it says it's editable, you can edit it. If it's got an orange bar and it says it's not editable, you can't edit it. What you don't want to do is change anything in the double brackets, just like open to close. How many of you are using open to close? Okay, so in open to close, you know, you don't use those double brackets because that information is auto-populated. So if you're changing anything around double brackets, just make sure that you're reading into the sentence what is going to get fit in there so it still makes sense. You don't want to have a sentence that says, oh, I'm so glad that you liked 123 Maple Street in, you know, I can't even think, but if your sentence just didn't jive, you know, you want to make sure that the sentence makes sense with the fill-ins. So my recommendation is put yourself in as a lead and as a warm buyer and so you can see all these emails because it's going to help you to understand what your client is getting. I don't believe your client should be the first person to see something that you're sending out. I think you should be the first person to see it so that you can say, oh yes, I know what that says and I can respond to that. Because what if they call you up and go, hey, I got this great email on preparing to buy. Can you walk me through what that's about? So let's go back to preparing to buy.
Maggie,
Yes, ma'am.
Ella has a question. Is there a way to create your own campaign from scratch?
I don't believe there is right now. No.
Not right now,
However,
there's not.
However, there is you can do that in Howard Hanna presentations. So Howard Hanna presentations has what's called a non-listing presentation. You can do the coolest stuff in there. That's a whole different class. And it's one I need to put on the schedule again. You can put in video content, you can put in photos, you can put in text content, and it has professional looking layouts. It's the nuts. I think it's, we totally underutilized and very, very effective. So if I get a client that responds to me on preparing to buy, I want to have read this email. And if somebody sends me an email about that, guess what? I'm going back to review it because, like you, I've read 9,000 other things in between and I don't remember anymore. So I'm going to review it before I call them back. Unless I happen to get them on the phone, at least I've read it. And I know what the basic content is. And I can say, well, what about that? Did you like, or did you have questions about? Oh yeah, right. Down payment. Okay, so now I'm reminded, but I can't be reminded if I've never read it. All right, so Tom, did that answer your question on?
Honestly, no. I guess my question is more, is there nowhere, like if once you go into a campaign like you just did, there's nowhere to say at the top of that campaign or wherever that says literally the trigger, this campaign is triggered by adding somebody in as a new buyer.
It does actually. So when I go into new lead, hang on. Where is it? Preview. I'm trying to think where it shows me. I have to think about this. Let's try run campaign. There's a spot where it says under the in the left-hand corner, triggered by new lead. Let's see. I'm just trying to figure out where it is. I should have written this down. I did it yesterday and the day before.
And I know I've seen it too, and I just
I can never remember where it is, Tom.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
It might be in the edit button. Yeah, there it is.
It's right there,
the,
trigger new lead. So under edit, perfect.
Right here it says trigger. Add contacts that have been added to engage from any lead source.
Wonderful.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you.
it. So yeah, I lose sight of where things are because there's a lot in here. Just push buttons. You can't break anything. You just can't break anything. So that is under the edit button if it's a trigger or not, which is how I figured out which ones were scheduled and which ones were trigger campaigns because I clicked on everything. So a new lead is just one email. And that is going to go to anyone that just comes into my system automatically. And it says within 0 days, it's going to go out. So if I preview it, thanks for your interest. I'm right here to help. Is there a good time for us to talk about your unique real estate needs with your contact information? So nice, quick, short email, letting them know that they are interested. And we know that a huge number of realtors never even respond to the leads that they get, and they miss a tremendous amount of business. And I'm sure all of us have been guilty at one time or another of having received a lead and we didn't respond fast enough. This does it for you. Because you were busy, you missed an email, you missed a whatever, you missed it. So this should help you to not have that problem. So if we go back to the campaigns tab, let's make sure it's spinning. Let's go back. My campaigns. All right, so here I am. I was just on the wrong tab. See, I have awaiting and I was on running, so I couldn't see all my boxes. So on this side, you can tell which section you're in: awaiting setup, running, paused, or archived. You also have just your neighborhood news.
Maggie,
So,
can I ask
yes,
you a quick question?
Of course you can.
Dana says, when a lead is entered into the system automatically from a lead coming into the system, do they need to be then set up manually or will they automatically be set up on a campaign once I assign them as a buyer or seller?
So if you have a lead that's coming in and they have an email, they will automatically go into a campaign if you have the campaign itself set up. So the trigger campaigns will be triggered by, so a new lead would be triggered by the new lead status. The buyer, so let's go back to our library so we can look at what our choices are. It's a good question. And that's why we're doing this today. So my buyer warm prospect is only going to get these emails if I've identified them as a buyer. So when I went to Maggie Warm lead and I made her a buyer prospect and I clicked the buyer button, then she would get these warm buyer prospect emails. If we actually had a transaction, moved into a transaction, the transaction closed, they would go to the closed buyer transactions, which is 6 emails, one a thank you, one's 1 week after close, a testimonial request, which is nice because I don't know about you, that was my worst thing. I'm terrible at asking for testimonials. The buyer 30-day follow-up, a 60-day follow-up, and a 6-month follow-up. A lot of agents are really nervous about contacting people a week after they've closed in case there's a problem. They're afraid it's going to cost them some time or some money. It will cost you time or money if you're not following up. Anybody know why it's going to cost you money if you don't follow up?
You don't stay top of mind.
You don't stay top of mind, and they're not going to refer you, are they, Nils?
That's
The
correct.
longevity. Go ahead, Nils.
I just said that's correct.
The longevity of your career is not a transaction, it's how many transactions can every transaction lead you to. And if you are staying up on top of clients, even after they close, they refer you and they respect you. And yeah, you may come up with somebody the week later has got a problem. You know, we've been in the house for a week and the washing machine died and the furnace is making a funny noise. And that's the time for you to step in and say, hey, let's call your attorney and see what we can do. And also, oh, remember we got that HSA warranty. Let's reach out to Mike McKenzie and find out if we can help you, or whoever your HSA rep is in your area. In New York State, it's Mike McKenzie, and we love Mike. He's a blast.
Maggie, can I
yes,
ask another
ma'am.
question?
Of course.
Jan said, I enter some of my resources like attorneys, mortgage brokers, etc. into Outlook, which populate into Engage. How do I prevent them from getting into a campaign?
You can take, how do you prevent them? Why do you not want them to be in a campaign? That's my first question. I think you want them in a campaign. And here's why. They live in houses. Their friends and family live in houses. Their colleagues live in houses. Their clients live in houses. Those are all referral opportunities for you. So if you are not drip campaigning on those clients, they don't know that you're serious about your career. And they can, if they don't want it, they can unsubscribe themselves. Anyone can unsubscribe themselves to anything. But I don't think you want to keep them out of campaigns. I think you want them in campaigns. I don't think you should make them collaborators. I think the only people in collaborators should be Howard Hanna agents and managers.
Maggie, I've got a couple other questions here.
Sure.
Let's see. Anthony, can we use the groups that some of us used when we used to do email blasts prior to the system being set up? I used to update my group once a month with new leads and prospects.
So for general campaigns, scheduled campaigns, that's how you would use your groups. So we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So when you're in your campaigns, like the seasonal home maintenance or the holiday campaign, I don't know why this says Catholic. It says Christian. It's not just I don't know who labeled these. Anyway, that's my little problem. So anyway, when you're in a regular campaign and you are running it, you can add people. You can add from your groups, or you can add groups and individuals. So let's say I wanted to add everybody from this group and this group and this group, but then I wanted to add a specific person. And I can just pick that person and add them to that group by just clicking the plus sign. And then that person will have been added.
Can I piggyback on that? Donna Chow asks, what is the best way to put in past buyers and sellers into the marketing campaign if it is over a year old?
It doesn't matter how old they are. So everybody should be in a marketing campaign. They would just be in a marketing campaign and identified as a past seller or buyer seller, because those are categories under the clients. So there's one category I never want you to use when you're using the category wizard. That's personal. No one is personal. They should all be in your sphere of influence. And so they should all be in your campaigns. And your collaborator should only be Howard Hanna. So 99% of your people should be in your client category. And a huge percentage of them are not going to have been a past buyer or past seller, but neither. And they're just going to be in a marketing campaign. You're going to send them a holiday email, how to take care of their home.
Maggie,
Yes.
just because I'm rushing you along for time constraints here.
Yep.
Sharon has a very good question. How do I differentiate Jewish from Catholic?
If you do not know your client's religious background, then you don't have to use Catholic or Jewish. We also have
or K.
we have funny, let me see, I'll show you a couple. So we do have some with Jewish holidays, and they're missing a ton of them. We have a campaign, No Kids, which I think actually has some, let's see.
Hey,
I
Maggie, I found the one called Holiday Greetings. I went through and was looking for the most secular, if you will, and I found
Okay.
that Holiday Greetings campaign is the least specific as far as religion.
Yeah, and I
Thanks.
think anytime that's the way to go.
Yeah, so it's this one.
I think it's sort of crazy that they actually break these out the way they do.
Yeah, I do also. This one says Happy Holidays, and it's kind of doesn't really matter. There's also a fun little puppy one. I think it's called Super Fun Puppy.
Maggie,
Yeah.
just to roll these questions along, Becky asks, how do I get texts sent to cell phones instead of emails? Does it do either?
Everything here is sent by email.
Right now.
Right now, we can assume, and we know that they're making a lot of changes as we go along, and we have feedback. They are very responsive to changing things. This is new. Sending it out through one format makes a lot more sense than trying to send it on multiple platforms initially, to prevent people sending them out two ways, which doesn't look really good, in my opinion. Yep.
Let me just keep rolling along here.
Mhm.
And just so everyone knows, this is being recorded. We are trying, I know this is a ton of information, and we are really trying to make these as small of bites as possible. But it's still a ton of information, and we realize that. There will be help guides, I believe, that Natalie has been, trying to work on to be companions for all of this information. So, don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask, more specific questions. Ashley asks, is there a way to start the campaign at a certain email, or a way to skip some of the material if it won't seem organic to where we are in the process?
Yeah, so if you go to the edit button for a campaign you've already set up or is awaiting setup, I can change the date. I just went to the edit button. I can remove it completely. So if I wanted this to go at a later date, I just click the calendar and maybe send it the 24th, or trash can it and not at all.
So if we don't want to wait 14 days for a testimonial request, can we adjust the timing on that?
Yes. Yeah, same thing. You're just going to go to the edit and you're going to edit that trigger. Anything that's not editable will come up with an orange bar that says not editable. And we do have some of those campaigns. It's because they're Howard Hanna has decided that that's information they don't want to mess with for one reason or another.
Maggie, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if we do make changes to these campaigns in terms of the timing, or if we eliminate something, you know, that's already been set up, that we need to save it under a copy or a different name or whatever. Otherwise, if that campaign is updated in some fashion from the original template, we won't have access to it.
Yeah, there is a feature there. Natalie in the next session is going to be talking about editing emails.
Okay.
So from 10:45 to 11:15, we're going to talk about that. Right now, we're just focused on the trigger because that's way more information.
Gotcha.
So yes, she's correct, but we're not talking about that in this half hour because that's a half hour by itself, which is why we have 10:45 to 11:15 or whatever. Is that right? Yeah.
Maggie, another question. Is there a way to globally convert entries from personal, or do I have to do them one at a time?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Okay.
Do you?
Pam, that's came from Pamela Simmons. So
Pam, what do you mean exactly? You can turn off your mic and talk to me. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Pretty much everyone that I put into my Engage database, I marked as personal because I'm brand new. And I want to know if I could change them all in one fell swoop, or do I have to go into them one at a time?
I'm going to show you, you do have to go into them one at a time. Unfortunately, there's not a global remove from personal. And I'm sorry about that because that happened to a lot of people. There is a filter, however, so you can go to People, My People, click on the filters button, and you can click on the personal contacts and apply. I don't have any, let me get that out of there. And when they come up as personal, I can click on their name, go to the edit, bottom of the page, and just unclick personal. That had a dark band around it, border, and now it doesn't. I say done. And now I'll be given the opportunity to say client, create a marketing plan. None of these.
Thank
Create
you.
Plan. You're welcome. That happened to a lot of people when we set up.
Michael Jameson wants to know, I was wondering how to add an Excel spreadsheet to Engage. I have a huge list. Michael, that we can send you information about how to make that happen.
We can, Michael, but before you bring over a list, you want to have it very cleaned up. And secondly, I don't recommend that. I recommend that you bring them in one at a time and you do it 5 or 10 people every day until you get done with your list and you actually reach out and call them. And I know that sounds horrible, but I really think that's the best and most effective way to use Engage. And go backwards in time. Don't go alphabetically. Who are you dealing with right now and who, and go backwards in time. I really, really strongly believe that's the best way to bring your clients into Engage.
And
my personal opinion.
One more question that we have time for. Is there a campaign for a buyer who just got a purchase offer accepted?
Let me look. Let me go campaigns.
And again, the absolute best thing you can do to get familiar with this is to put yourself in it. Everybody has a personal email away from their Howard Hanna email. Put yourself in and start playing around with it before you put real live clients in. Just so you can become familiar with what's there, what it looks like on the client end before you start sending it out to prospective clients or active clients.
So I don't see a congratulations on your purchase, if that's what you're looking for. However, again, in Howard Hanna presentations, that is certainly something you could create, save, and use over and over and over again. So within the company, we have multiple ways to achieve great results. And anything that you see that you want in here, add in on your dashboard. And this will be the last two things I'm going to tell you. On your dashboard, there's a suggestion box here. Any ideas you have that you think are good and sound, put them in here. They do review them, and they do make changes based on these suggestions. And the more of us that send them the same suggestion, the more they listen. The other thing is that here is the Engage Resource Center. Engage training and tutorials. I show this every single time I do Engage videos, 365 days a year. As long as you've got power and internet, you can watch these videos on how to get from everything from how to get started to hot tips, exporting email, mailing labels, preference and admin, my people's campaigns, campaign overview, touch points. So I recommend you start with getting started. This is how I learned to use Engage. The longest video, I believe, is 11 minutes. Most of them are 1 to 3 minutes. I watch the video, I go back and do whatever the task is and make sure I did it right. If I don't, I go watch the video again and try it again. It's there all the time. And this is a great and easy way. These are the experts. I'm the person who learned from the experts. These are the experts who developed the program. So that's there for you all the time.
Yeah, and again, it's a work in progress always by Moxie. So use that suggestion box, because if it's a Moxie specific question, that does get forwarded to Moxie from our IT and marketing folks.
All right, guys, it's 10:34. If you want to join us for the editing your email campaigns, that's going to address that question that was asked during this session. And you'll have to get off this call and get on that call, and we will see you in 10 minutes.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.